Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Kaga. Today is a bit of an interesting replay for you all. This is all about the Imperial Japanese Army, that is the Japanese, Tier 7 heavy tank, or should I say super heavy tank, the O-Ni. Now this is a gigantic tank, nobody can say otherwise, is weighing in at 100 tons. Now, admittedly, I'm a bit of a fan of the medium tanks. They're very quick, they're mobile, and yet there's something that I love about this tank, and for that matter, the rest of the Japanese heavies. So let's take a little bit of a quick look at why by jumping into the garage and then grabbing one excellent replay for you all. So we'll be taking a look at the Tier 7 Japanese heavy tank, the Oni. This is your typical Japanese heavy tank that you've come to know and love since their introduction with the latest patch to World of Tanks. This is a little bit of a departure from the OE experimental in some respects and the OE at tiers 5 and 6 respectively, as you can see. It's a significantly taller, it's narrower, and you give up some of those large, very to easily hit frontal weak spots that you see right like here in the front of the tank in exchange for some nice features that can be used situationally. I'll go over those in a bit. Perhaps the most obvious difference between any of the preceding Japanese heavy tanks is the nice sloping of these frontal plates here. In practice, this means that it doesn't matter whether the enemy's shooting you from here or here, it's not always a guaranteed penetration. I mean, let's take a look at it. That looks to be sloped back at around 40 degrees, 45 degrees, meaning it's got like 1.4 times the actual thickness of the armor, which is in upper 100, above 150, give or take, at any given point on these plates that you see here. And that means that at tier 7 you are quite comfortable. It would take German TD penetration, British 17-pounder premium ammunition to really start looking at penetrating this reliably from any angle. Most others just don't have the accuracy to hit this tiny bar that you see here. I mean, that is tiny. I mean, I can't zoom out enough to show you how tiny a target that really is. And most people will probably be shooting it from this type of angle, which means that in practice they'd be trying to penetrate on a 55-degree slanted surface. That's not a wise shot, so if you're facing one of these, that is not the place you want to aim. So let's go over some of the general armor profile. So in addition to this little bit of a reconceptualization of the frontal armor that you've come to know in the OE and the OE experimentals, you also have those nice, relatively thick tracks, and they're very tall. They cover about maybe a third of the vehicle in spaced armor, and as you can see, there's thick armor on the hull, there's moderately thick plate armor on the side of the tracks, and there are plenty of these track wheels, so this is not the place you're going to want to shoot one of these vehicles. As with the preceding two vehicles, if you can get a shot into this area right here, I don't know why you wouldn't do it. It's only 70 millimeters at the sides right there, and that's a pretty nice easy penetration. Don't ponder the turret. The turrets of the Japanese heavies can be quite trolls, so go with the safe bet. These have a lot of HP. They can respond faster than you would expect in practice on the battlefield, so the sooner you can take them out of action, the better. I don't know for certain if this machine gun port here is a frontal weak spot. I would suspect it is due to edge effect, but I would suspect that it would require like a premium round to reliably penetrate that, considering how small a target that is and how reasonably well-rounded that is. The engine right here, if you can get a shot in the rear of the vehicle, you're better off trying to go on the lower side here. This extra bit here, at least in my experience, is a little bit less reliable to penetrate right here. So this bar on the back of the tank. So if you can aim low, do that. This little bar on the bottom, I would not recommend shooting that. It's angled at a nice slope there, so you're likely to start trying to dig furrows in electronic dirt. That is not a good use of ammunition, considering that when this thing's fully upgraded, it can pump out around 5 rounds a minute without the any upgrades or skill activations. Now we'll talk about the gun handling. In practice, the gun elevation is excellent all around the tank. It's 20 degrees all around. That's how high you can aim your reticle above the level of the tank. And for the most part, the gun depression is actually substantially good in this vehicle. The only exception is when you're trying to traverse the gun over these two 37mm anti-tank mini turret parapets at the front of the tank, in which case then it drops from 10 degrees to 9 degrees. I know, that it's such a big difference, right? So in practice, this vehicle is very good at occupying shallow hills and going in defilade behind them. And the only thing you're going to really want to watch out for is getting flanked, especially by fast mediums like the Chinese T-34s, Type 59s, the usual brawling type low to the ground mediums, because while your gun depression is excellent, and in practice you can aim about here, if a tank, as you can see, if a small medium comes up and poof occupies this space right here, you can turn this all you want. You're probably not going to hit them unless you get creative with the steering. So I'm going to talk about the gun selection right now. The Type 92 is utter garbage. It is utter garbage. That 175mm penetration is meh. This is not the gun that you want to start off using on the Oni grind, because you have something better. The Type 96 that you already unlocked from the OE in the preceding tier. So you want to equip this right off the bat. It's your typical 15cm class derp gun in many respects. I found that fully aimed, this is actually better than the one on the KV2, pulling off some really nice long distance action if you can fully aim it. I emphasize, fully aim it. In practice, you can look at doing about the same amount of damage as the Type 92 with armor, utilize the Type 92's armor-piercing ammunition, just using the high explosive and being aware of armor thickness on certain vehicles. But this has the extra added benefit of, say, if you look at like the British Challenger Tier 7 TD, and you manage to get one of its side panels, you can one-shot it from full health. So this is a great way to get experience on your way to the gun you're really going to want to use on this tank, and that is the 10cm experimental tank gun, which has a little bit more damage than the Type 92. It has a little bit more penetration. It fires a little bit slower, but in practice, it is just all around a better gun. And this tank really does sing using this gun. The replay I have selected for you later on in the video gives you an idea of its performance, and I don't think I would have picked up the Radley-Walters in that particular video, foreshadowing, without this gun. You will note that, like the preceding Japanese heavy tanks, there is no turret upgrade. So whatever it's at, that's all you got. Also, like the preceding OE tank at Tier 6, you get the same Kawasaki Type 98 V12 1200 horsepower engine that you should have unlocked down at Tier 5 with the OE Experimental. If you haven't, you're probably going to be slapping yourself, because these tanks are slow, or you probably already slapped yourself going through the OE. And this tank only weighing a grand total of 102 tons, the way I have it equipped out, means that you want every bit of horsepower possible. Granted, this is not as bad as on the OE that weighs something like 150 tons. You're definitely going to want to look at the tracks as one of the first upgrades that you pursue on this vehicle, because other than the tank gun here, the 10cm experimental gun that you see equipped to the vehicle, there's not many things that you can add, even in terms of like these equipment slots here. That yes, you're going to really want to look at upgrading these tracks maybe as the second upgrade on this path, because the stock load limit of 100.5 tons leaves this vehicle wanting with insufficient loadout to completely load out the equipment slots with the things you might want on it, especially for those of you who are believers in the super heavy spall liner. It's just not enough for that. You will note that I've actually elected to not equip the super heavy spall liner. A little more on that in a little bit. This is the same on the note of the radio. It's the same Type 3 Otsu that you had on the previous tank, so you can equip that right away. And now I've chosen Ventilation Class 3, the Gun Rammer, and the Gun Laying Drive as my equipment on the vehicle. And I've done this consciously choosing to not equip the super heavy spall liner, because I felt that on especially grinding through the 15cm howitzer, that I wanted to accentuate the speed and performance of the crew members, and specifically the reload and the aim time, which you will admit, 3.5 seconds and 3.3 seconds can be a bit of a long time to spend to fully aim actually, I think that's even to start aiming the gun. That can be a long time to wait in practice, especially when you're facing off against things like SU-152s with their really large caliber guns, ISU-152s, IS-3s, things that just generally, they come up in your face and they don't give you the time to really aim. And there are situations where you really need to aim this gun to penetrate on certain vehicles. So I've chosen to have the vents to get general crew performance, and the gun laying drive to just push that just a little bit farther. Caveat emptor, your mileage may vary with this. You should always equip your vehicles in a way that suits your playstyle. If you're finding yourself constantly being rained on by high explosive shells from like aforementioned SU-152s, artillery, SPGs, you name it, then you may want to opt to grab the super heavy spall liner after you have equipped this 10 centimeter gun, experimental gun anyway, and after you equip the Oni Kai tracks, just to gain that extra bit of protection from artillery. And that would be my recommended path of progression for this vehicle. On ammunition, interesting, it's another one of those 105 millimeter, not so 10 centimeter guns. I have chosen to load out 60 rounds of the standard AP Type 2 ammunition, 20 rounds of the premium experimental Type 2 Tokuko ammunition, that I guess it's hardened cap and armor piercing, and 20 rounds of the Type 91 high explosive shell. Standard consumables apply, you can switch them out as you please. You may choose to put some quality oil in here to get a little bit more oomph under the hood. I don't think this vehicle needs it as much as the OE did at Tier 6. And if you're really looking to pull out the performance once you've gotten your crew trained, you may look at Onigiri. But your mileage may vary. I've chosen all of these loadouts because this covers most of the situations you'll encounter in this vehicle. And you're definitely going to want to not skimp out too much on the AP, hardened AP ammunition, the Tokuko, because you will see Tier 9 vehicles and you may find yourself unable to get around them to their weak spots in the sides and rear of the vehicle, or you may not be able to reliably count on being higher than your opponents to shoot down into their relatively unarmored turret tops, like in the case of an IS-8, an IS-3. Some of the Chinese mediums are good examples of this. So you just want to have a little bit of ammunition that can handle all comers in that case, and having that kind of range of penetration upwards of 270 millimeters can really help out sometimes. It's still not going to replace the need to properly aim this gun at Tier 9, but it can help. Now some little quick tips before we move on into battle, and that is the optimal engagement distance profile, I guess would be a decent word to ascribe to it. With the Oni is a little bit more interesting than it was with the OE series tanks at Tier 5 and 6, because you have these cheek plates to now look after. They're pre-angled, so that means that at any angle other than like this, they're suboptimal. So really and truly, you're going to be looking at trying to present your side scrape around the corners of buildings in a way where this is minimized in how flat on it is to enemy vehicles, but in many cases you could just get away with going straight at them because this is already angled. Granted, these are small targets right here. You're going to definitely want to use your better judgment as to how you wish to handle them. I would recommend at most this angle right here, so the gun that you're getting is right on the edge of this turret. It's going to require you to back up a little bit more than you're used to get these shots off, but I think that because of this angle here on the 70 millimeter armor, unless somebody is completely in overmatch regime, but then it would penetrate every single time, then this should make this area here a good auto bounce area for most guns. and the spaced armor of the tracks will troll all who try to shoot it, and it will present a very strong frontal profile that they can engage from here. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and get into some games. So this is a nice game that demonstrates pretty much everything that can go right for the Oni Super Heavy tank. So this is on Siegfried Line, Tier 7 match. Yay! These Japanese heavy tanks really do like being top of the team list, but then again, who doesn't? It's not just them, it's everybody that loves it. So right now, I'm kind of pondering what to do with this tank. I really don't fancy trying to push my way through that nice uphill that you see directly in front of me and into the city via that route. So we're going to do something a little bit different. And we're going to try to use this hill to gain up some speed. I know, 26 kilometers per hour. It's going so fast. Well, it accelerated faster than I would have otherwise been able to pull off. So what we're going to do here is we are going to deny the enemy shots at our side armor there that they might get if we'd gone the more traditional heavy tank road that you see like the OE experimental in our team doing. And we're going to approach the city from the front gates. And the basic idea behind this is that this is a nice choke point. I guess that's the right word. It's a great way to funnel the enemy to shoot us from the front. And that's because there's just no real room that they can effectively get to take the flanking shots on our vehicle. Right now you get to see that nice gun depression as we try to find that shot on the 5916, but penetration value is reduced by shooting through that car. We managed to bounce that Tiger 1. Again, tracks eat the shot, keep angling against the Churchill 6. That Churchill 6 is going to be prey number 1. And as you can see, there is at no time during this almost Banzai charge that I'm making against the enemy that I am presenting them a flush-on surface of the vehicle to shoot at. And we pick up kill number 1 against a fairly good enemy heavy tank, the Churchill 7. There's that Stug who's talking around in chat. Come in, don't feel like sending in a second shot there. Going for the ram kill. And I have to admit, I was tasting the ram kill and I probably go a little overboard here. And as you can see, because of the way I'm angling, even though the enemy is trying to get shots against the rear of the vehicle, they're still getting a very hard time to penetrate the armor. We find ourselves in OE, Tier 6, Japanese heavy tank here to deal with. We put in a second shot into him, and it looks like the derp gun only managed to do a little minor splash damage, take out our tracks, and put those tracks back in action just to keep moving. Oh, they're back out again, and it's a Panzer IV-H. For the who, by all appearances, it looks stock. We blast off most of his health. He makes the wise decision, runs off, and as you can see, taking a full repair crew on your Oni and actually any of your Japanese tanks would be very helpful, considering how often your tracks are probably going to get knocked off by high explosive damage. So we finish off the Panzer IV, find looking for a shot on that Tiger P, fire one blind. It looks like we managed to connect with the cheek plate of the Tiger P. I'm thinking that at this point it'd be best to start the cap, because I'm not chasing anyone down in a hurry in this machine. So I begin turning against the 5916, because if he's loaded his premium ammunition and has the auto loader, he has 6 tries to penetrate some part of my vehicle, and that doesn't make me feel too happy. In comes an Easy 8 to take the Pepsi challenge against us, but on a good shot on his side, he thinks better of it. At this moment in time, thinking, well, we've regained the momentum at this point, so let's get off the cap. Screw up the shot. Black Prince doesn't connect. Move forward. Take the pressure off the Black Prince. Keep angling. Put that Easy 8 on short notice. And there's that E25, the Energizer Bunny, that we've been trying to take out. Oh, we haven't been taking him out per se, but we have tried to take his platoon. Did we take out his platoon mate? No, I don't think we did. But we've been concerned about him this entire match. Pick up that cheeky 5916 who forgot that there was someone staring him down. Our tracks looks like it eats the primary brunt of that M12 shell. We take a little bit of his health off when he decides to ram us to try to get under our gun. We're able to bring the gun down on him and finish him off. Where's the Energizer Bunny gone off to? And then I'm sitting having the realization that, wait, I'm in a super heavy tank. I am never going to catch him. So let's get this cap going. I'm not exactly certain where he might choose to pop up, so I'm keeping the whole of the tank in motion, trying to deny him an easy shot into those large side plates that we talked about earlier, and to cover up any of the weaknesses we might have been able to exploit beforehand. So he manages to connect a shot with the rear that tells me where he is roughly, and now we're trying to keep the hull of the tank pointed in that direction. And at this point, everyone on our team just said, screw it, cap. 2 heavy tanks against a hidden tank destroyer is never a good bet. So again, you see me angling the hull against where I suspect he will try to take his next shot from. Given the amount of time that he has left, he's not going to be able to get around us. He would not be able to pass that far road off there you see on the left, and it would take too long for him to go around the lake to get into another firing position to take us by surprise. So try to keep that front angled against where he's likely to try to pour some invisible bushfire onto us. But in the end, it doesn't look like he's able to get back in time, and we manage to cap the base. Puts a shot in there, and it's non-damaging. So this is the very impressive results screen for this. We got the Radley-Walters, the steel wall. Looks like we got a cool headed as well out of that. And the high caliber, no surprise. Top gun, no surprise. This was an ace mastery badge game. Oh, and surprise, we finished a heavy tank mission there. The number 14, take that hill, destroy at least 4 enemy vehicles of 2 different types. I forget what the secondary conditions of that one were. Not that it matters. A completion's a completion, and we got the secondary objectives to boot. Yay. So now this damage screen was a bit of a surprise, and in other ways it wasn't. It's not a surprise that we picked up almost 4,200 damage. What was a surprise was how many of our team, a third of our team, did 0 damage this entire game. I think this really is a testament to how good this vehicle can be if used correctly. It is very easily capable of carrying games when it is top tier, and I think even when it's in a tier 8 game, it is a serious contender. And with a fair bit of damage, and that's a lot of damage blocked by armor, and the base capture. We did manage to make a decent sum on this, even without a premium account. It would have been about 25k profit off of that. And in terms of your ability to use the tank to gain experience, you can do that very quickly in this vehicle. I hope this was an educational video for you all. I hope it really did illustrate the strengths of this particular vehicle. I hope that you are now better equipped to either unleash the fury of this vehicle upon the battlefield, or you are now familiar with enough with it to better deal with these monsters on the battlefield. And it is no stretch of the imagination that they are extremely strong tanks in the right hands. The O-Hole at Tier 8, the Type 4 at Tier 9, and the Type 5 at Tier 10 are all very strong contenders in their tiers. If you're curious about these vehicles, the links will be available to videos I've done on them from the Russian test server for World of Tanks in the video description. I will add the caveat that those are test server footages, so not necessarily 100% accurate, but it might give you an idea of what to expect in this particular heavy tank line. Did I say something you didn't quite understand? Did you see something that seemed a little weird? Or perhaps you'd like a little bit of insight into a particular course of action I chose during the battlefield I didn't comment on? Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to help you out. Thank you for having watched up to this point, and good day.